Oh. So good morning to you all. There are connection cards here. Hopefully those of you that haven't had one, fill one out. Did everybody fill out a connection card last week? You did? Did anybody not fill one out? Jerry didn't. Okay, so we need to get one to Jerry. I know Barbara has one already. I'm walking back here to get batteries because my light just turned red. I'm always amazed when I don't put batteries in my pocket. That's the data. I don't have the time to power it. It's the way it goes for me. All right, so and then if anybody would like to update their connection cards too, we've got a whole bunch of them back there. Actually, hand them out to everybody, but that's all right. All we're looking to do is update our records so that we have a list of everybody who's members. And then one of the first things that we're going to do either at the end of August or the first part of September is we're going to have a great big welcoming service for everybody in the Dells Milton Methodist Church. So technically, none of us are members of any of the United Methodist churches that we were formerly part of anymore. So anybody who would like to, we'll bring in as members in our new congregation. That make sense? All right. So if you want to, as you fill out the connection card, you can just mark a member or whatever you like on there, and then we'll just get that all set up. I'm assuming that most of you marked member already. And anybody else we can talk to and see what they know, if you do or don't want to. Any announcements that we should be aware of this morning? Okay. Okay. Sounds good. And then the connection cards are also available online. bellsdelton.org/connect. Anybody that would like to do it that way can do it that way as well. And then Bob will set you up with a file here, or you can get me names and we'll get the mail off to whoever would like them. All right. Any other announcements this morning?
That treat, that whatever you did, it was a wonderful fundraiser. You didn't make as much money as you usually do, but that's okay. I think after everything's paid for, it's about $500. Okay, nothing to use that. And you had one thing in it. Wonderful food, wonderful fellowship, and thank you, everyone.
And we had a nice day. Yeah, great weather, didn't get too warm, didn't get too cold, and so that was nice as well. So good. So about $500 was raised for Kids Ranch, and then we'll get that all sorted out. And then there will be treats after worship this morning. So we do have some baked goods left available, and then a few brats and a few hot dogs. So whatever you'd like to grab, feel free to grab something. And then we also have something after worship, right? Not going to fill anybody in, huh? So administrative council meeting after worship, we're going to flesh out, I assume we're going to flesh out the rest of our mission and visioning and try to get a little farther down that road. And any other business that we need to take care of. So if you'd like to participate in that, please do.
And we did donate 2 bags of hot dogs, 3 meals.
Okay, so we had 2 packages left over, and we donated those to free meals here in Dallas. There you go, free drops today. Any other announcements this morning? Early. Okay, so Eva Newsom's Celebration of Life will be held here on Saturday. That will be at 11:30. Visitation meeting at 10. I say we have a couple birthdays this week, right? We have a birthday on Monday, if I remember right. Is there somebody's birthday this week, earlier? Mary Norwood is this week. And was Mary still going to come up and try to visit us?
We can find out.
Okay, so text her happy birthday from all of us as well. I believe her birthday is Monday, if I got the date right. And then Tim Hinkle and Caleb Bushweiler have birthdays on Thursday, right? Just Caleb. That's right, I forgot. Tim said he's not celebrating his birthday this year, so if you're retired, I guess you get to do that. Take a year off your birthday. So, Maestro. Are you taking him to Aruba or something like that since Maui's out? Any big plans for the birthday? You should enjoy the day. All right. Any other announcements this morning? Thank you, Bobby. Yes? There's quite a few desserts left, but you never know what this crowd might do this morning. So if you'd like to bring any desserts for the community supper on Thursday, that's fine. We will be doing grilling, right? Brats and burgers, is that the plan? So please do come and join us on Thursday evening for 5 o'clock, 5 to 7. We'll do our community supper. Anything else on your hearts and minds? One word of caution. Next week, weather permitting, we're outside. So be prepared for that. All right. With that, please do let us rise in body or spirit. We'll join together in our call to worship. This is from Psalm 68. All about God claiming his inheritance. That would be us. May God arise. His enemies be scattered. And may those who hate him flee from his presence. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. Before fire. So the wicked will perish before fire. But the righteous will join. They will rejoice before God. Sing to God. Sing praises to his name. Exalt him who rides through the deserts. He is the Lord, and be jubilant before him. This is God in his holy dwelling. God makes a home for the lonely. He leads out prisoners in prosperity. Only the rebellious live in pride. God, you went before your people. You marked the desert. The earth quaked. The heavens also dropped rain at the presence of God. You confirmed your inheritance when it was parched. The waterways of man, the women proclaim good news are great men. Kings of armies lead. They lead. You have ascended. You have led him. You have received gifts on people, even among the rebellious as well. That's the Lord. He gave you here the garden. Our opening hymn this morning is number 158. Come, Christians, join to sing. We'll sing the first two verses. Please do be seated. And let's join together in our words of confession and our words of assurance. You expect change. We know ourselves and find it difficult to walk away from the lives we live in. We do things that dishonor your name, but we still have trouble avoiding those familiar troubles. You call us to a new life, and we wonder if we can become these new creations. We struggle to believe that you would give us gifts so that we may become something. Yet, all us to be changed. You give us a new life and remind us it is unrecognizable because we do not see your kingdom. You move our lives in ways we do not understand. Your lead, so we can follow our spirit. Remind us that the Spirit moves us along together, so that we are people working together Help us see that you have filled us with a new life, so that we can become the new people you call us to be. Remind us that you have secured our eternal life, so that we move forward in joy and hope. Let us trust Jesus secured our freedom, so that we celebrate the beginning of your church. Amen.
The epistle lesson is from Ephesians 4, verses 1 through 10. I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. There is one body, one Spirit, even as we called in hope of your calling. Even as you are called in hope of your calling. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. But unto every one of us is given grace according to the measure of the gift of Christ. Wherefore he said, when he ascended upon high, he led captivity captive, and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower part of the earth? He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heaven, that he might fill all things. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. Our next hymn this morning is number 404. Every time, healing spirit. We sing the whole song.
The gospel reading is from John, chapter 3, verses 1 through 15. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Jesus by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from God, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest, except God be with him. Jesus answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. Nicodemus said unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Jesus answered, Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Marvel not that I said unto you, you must be born again. The wind blows where it lists, and then hears the sound thereof, but cannot tell when it comes and whither it goes. So is every one that is born of the Spirit. Nicodemus answered and said unto him, How can these things be? Jesus answered and said unto him, Art thou a master of Israel, and know not these things? Verily, verily, I say unto thee, we speak that we do know, and testify that we have seen, and you receive not our witness. If I had told you earthly things, and you believe not, how shall you believe if I tell you of heavenly things? And no man has ascended up to heaven, but he that came down from heaven, even the Son of Man, which is in heaven. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted, that whosoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God. So good morning. We're not even going to talk about Nicodemus this morning. Talk a little more about us. Because Paul's been talking to this church in Ephesus, reminding them what they have at their disposal. They have Christ. He dwells with them in their hearts. It's a huge promise. And they can know this love that surpasses knowledge. And they can be filled with all of the fullness of God. Huge promises that God has made to his church. But to receive those promises, they need to be the church. And so Paul says to them, Therefore I, the prisoner of the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the call with which you have been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, being diligent to keep the unity in the Spirit in the bond of peace. So Paul reminds them, he's a prisoner of the Lord, and he's a prisoner of the Lord in multiple ways. Number one, we know that he has this charge to keep. He's there going to the churches of the Gentiles, sharing with them the gospel message. And we also know that he's a prisoner because of Christ, because of the message. He's in prison at Rome because he's been upsetting the way that things have always been done. He knows what he's talking about because he has been practicing the Christian walk. He's been living out the gospel message before them. He wants them to understand that is what it's all about. So he says, walk in a manner that's worthy. We understand that metaphor, right? We know how you walk is how you live. You say things like walk the talk. It's one thing if we say something, but it's an entirely different thing if we actually do it. We're responsible about the way that we live. We're responsible for the way that we live our lives. And he reminds them and us that we've been called. He says to the Ephesian church, walk in a manner worthy of what you've been called to. We've been invited to participate in this. God has requested our presence. And so he says we ought to honor that call. There was a gal by the name of Carolee Erickson, and she wrote a biography of somebody called Marie Antoinette. You may have heard about her. And in this biography, she said that Marie Antoinette longed to go incognito and join in some of the celebrations that were going on in France at the time. So she would dress up and hide her features and hide herself and go to balls and go to dances and go to dinners. And she tried to blend into the crowd. The only problem is she never blended in. Everybody always figured out exactly who she was. In fact, they said her swift, purposeful gait looked more like a man walking. But by her stride, they knew exactly who she was. It was said that she walked like an empress, so you could always pick her out. It was the way that she walked is what gave her away. And Paul says there should be something about us that gives us away too, because we've been called. We've been invited to become part of this. God has put his stamp on us. Jews and Gentiles together. He's been reminding them that that division is gone. He's been reminding them that God displays his wisdom in bringing us all together as the church. That we show the unity that God has available. Because there is a single purpose that he's trying to accomplish. Bring his gospel message into the world. And since he has a purpose, we should have a purpose also. We should know and understand that we have something to do. And Paul says, here's how you accomplish the purpose. With humility and gentleness, with patience, and bearing with one another in love. All humility and gentleness. Something that's a little hard to do at times. All means all. I told you that before, right? When he says every humility and gentleness, all humility and gentleness, he means it completely. Humility, that word that's there, literally means judging from the ground. So it's not that you have a low or demeaning opinion, but it's that you have an honest assessment of what's going on, especially an honest assessment of yourself. Know what you're good at and not good at. As Michelle likes to say to me every once in a while, there's people that you wish they would weed themselves out because they know they're no good at what they're doing. They've got other talents that they're very good at, but the one thing that they're trying to do, they're not accomplishing because it's not something that they've been gifted with. That's okay. So it's good for us to know what we're good at and what we're not good at, so that we let others do the things that they're good at. And we do the things that we're good at. So judge correctly. And then this word gentleness. And I was expecting it to be in Shirley's version, and if you said it, I missed it. But I was expecting it to be meekness. Because that version that's close to the King James usually throws that word in there. That's the word that's there is gentleness. And I think I've told you before, meekness is not that you're weak. It's that you have your power under control. Meeking is what you do to horses so that they're useful for field work. It's not that they've lost any of their strength. In fact, even today, we still measure things in horsepower. That's how strong horses are. But because they are useful, that's also why we measure things in horsepower. Because their strength, when it's controlled, is marvelous. There's a cartoon that a guy by the name of Charles Schultz did. I think that was published in 1960, this particular comic. April 1st, I want to say is what it was. I've got it in my archives. Anyway, Lucy walks into the room and she looks at Linus and says, change the channel. And Linus just looks at her and she goes, I said, change the channel. And Linus looks at Lucy and says, what makes you think you can walk right in here and take over? And Lucy says, these 5 fingers. Individually, they're nothing special. When I curl them together like this into a single unit, They formed a weapon that is terrible to behold. Linus looks at her and says, which channel do you want? Then Linus leaves the room, and as he's walking out of the room, he looks down at his hand and says, why can't you guys get organized together? There's truth to that. Charles Schultz was amazing at pointing out the obvious to us. When there's organization, it works very, very well. But for those fingers to be organized, they need to work together. For us to be organized, we need to work together. And it starts with humility. It starts with humility and gentleness. We have to be willing to work with one another and know what our portion is. Paul adds, with patience. I don't know about you, but sometimes that's the hardest part. The word there is long-suffering. Whenever you see patience in the Bible, you can always think long-suffering. Being patient means you put up with a lot. Because like it or not, we're all irritating at times. Right? I've got people that'll tell you, I can be very irritating. And I'm grateful that they put up with it. We all are. We've got our own debts. And if we cannot be patient with one another, we can't work together. But we can't be patient with one another unless we're humble. Know that we also have weaknesses. And unless we're meek, we keep our strengths under control. And the reason that we do all of this, Paul says, is to be useful. Because that's what we want to be. As God's church, we want to be useful. We want to have an impact. Paul's already said it in the last chapter. We together are the church. Not you are the church. We like to say that, right? But we forget that goes into the next part of the verse. We are the church together. We are the church together. We forget that at times. If we're going to be the church, that means we have to remain together. That's a difficult thing to do. And if we are to be the church, we have to remain together in the Spirit. Not just together, but together in the Spirit. There's a museum in Greenwich Village in Detroit, Michigan. And they have one of the largest steam locomotives ever made. Huge thing. And on it, they have a list of all the gauges and everything that's being measured. Its horsepower, the temperature of the boiler, the stress on the rods, everything that's going on in the thing. But the bottom line, when you get down to it, it says that of all the things the engine does, it takes 96% of its power to move the engine. Which means it only has 4% left on the load. All of the work it does to keep itself moving. Almost nothing is left within the house. And it's important what we are about. Because otherwise we become like that locomotive engine and work more on ourselves than what it is we're supposed to accomplish. We need to pay attention to our walk. Because otherwise it's just about us. Paul says, remember what you've been called to do. We need to stick together to be effective, but we also have to know where we're going to be effective. We want to be effective, we know there's a mission. And that mission is simple. The gospel. It says that right away. There is one body and one spirit, just as you were also called in one hope you're calling. One Lord, one faith, one baptism. One God and Father of all, who is over all, and through all, and in all. Only Paul would have that whole preposition in his name. Amazing how he strings together everything that is in our relationship with God. One body, one spirit. One body, one church. There is one place that God resides. Us together. And Paul reminds them that the division doesn't exist anymore. It can't if we're going to be one body. The church is going to be God's one love. And God is in control of its church. Whether or not we appreciate that. Everything else too, but especially the church. And remember that Paul is writing to believers here. He wants them to understand that he is over all in authority. He's talking about the church. Of course, it extends to everything else. but he is over the whole church in authority, and he is through all, collectively, and in all, individually. He is in all of us and through all of us, over all of us, because we belong to him. That's the unity. We're all unified in God. And Paul said there's one body and one spirit, because there is one God. That's all we have to work with. This has to be, because there is only one operation. God's will. That's what we're called to. God has unified this all under the one hope that he has. He makes it so simple for us that we don't need to sit there and pick the right choice. He's already given us the one choice. One Lord, one faith, and one baptism. One Lord who we know is Jesus. He set him up and made it completely obvious. He is the Christ, he is the Messiah, whichever term you'd like to use. God promised rescue, and he delivered it exactly one time, so that there would be no confusion. We have that one hope, that one way. And Jesus says, I am that one way, right? The way, the truth, and the life. There's no other choices. It's as simple as that. And we have one resurrection hope. There hasn't been another resurrection for us to hope in. The only place that we can put our faith is in what God accomplishes. From one faith. God promises that restoration, that life. What he has accomplished is enough. That's the faith. That's the hope. So there is only one baptism. That is where we have our hope. Is that our sin and our death can be defeated, and his resurrection. There is life on the other side. That our relationship with God has been restored. So it's that simple. The tricky part is that there's more than one grace. He says there is one hope, variety of grace. To each one of us, grace was given according to the measure of Christ's gift. Therefore it says, when he ascended on high, he led captive the captives, and he gave gifts to the people. Or if you like the Old Testament reading that Shirley did from you, received gifts of people. So he is pouring into us. We're in this together, yes, but we're not all doing the same thing. Hopefully we know and understand that. And Paul will talk about the variety of those gifts. Graces are given to each member of the body. But all of us have different needs. By the way, what's grace? Getting what you need, but not what you deserve. That's why the graces are different. Because we're all different. So he pours into us. These gifts that he gives are measured out. He's actually taking time to measure out the gifts and give them appropriately. One people, but different graces, depending on the measure. So he looks and figures out what's suitable for each one of us and gives us that grace and that gift because he needs us to do that. And as I said to you, the strange thing is he likes to fill in where we're weak. He doesn't always give us graces in our strengths. He, a lot of times, gives us graces in our weakness. If he didn't do that, I wouldn't be here. I told you before, the last place I want to be on Sunday morning is sitting here and expounding on this. It wouldn't have been something I would have chosen. Just pouring it on me. Shell asked me a couple weeks ago, I had to preach here and at another church. She's like, why are you preaching two different messages? Like, because I'm supposed to. God gives us what his expectation is. Not necessarily what we want to do. That's a hard thing to understand. The gift that he gives us is this free gift. We don't do anything to earn it. There's nothing special about us that we deserve it. but he chooses to pour it into us. We know it's because of his love. But sometimes we still question the choice because it doesn't always make a lot of sense to us. We expect it to be a prize or an award, but it's not. It's a gift. Freely given without any requirement on him. He just says, you're going to get this. We do that too. Yes, we like to give gifts to people that we think that they will enjoy, but sometimes we just give gifts to them because we give them a gift. We hope that they will enjoy it. Sometimes we give it to them because we enjoy it. Gifts are meant to be received. That's why we give things, to benefit the person that we're giving it to. That's why God gives us gifts. He wants it to benefit us in the relationship with him. He doesn't require us to be good stewards of it. I'm sure he expects us to be good stewards of it. We want people to be good stewards of what we give them. And they're meant to be useful. That's why they're given. And he is deliberate in his giving. Paul says the gifts are measured out. The grace is measured out. He knows exactly what he's doing. There is forethought in this. Grace is also part of his gift. He knows what we need. By the way, as Paul said here too, he ascended and he gives gifts. Notice the order. Those gifts that you get are heavenly gifts. They're not gifts like you would expect to get in the world. Those gifts are given after the rescue is accomplished. Those gifts are given because the rescue is accomplished. He ascends and gives gifts to his people. Which is all of it. There's not a hand that we have in the whole process. It's just because he's gracious. He wants us to receive those gifts and be his church. And Paul says, realize that Christ is a reality. Paul says, now the expression he ascended, what does it mean except that he had also descended into the lower parts of the earth? He who descended is himself, also he who ascended far above the heavens, that he might fill all. Says, really, Jesus did arrive. Don't miss it. Understand that the Savior actually did come. God stepped down out of heaven and resided with us and lived fully as one of us. He came to the lower part of the earth. Lower part of the earth, sometimes they sit there and say the same thing as descended into the dead. I mean, there are other verses in the Bible that go into that. But it doesn't say he descended below the earth. It says the lower part of the earth. And think about who Jesus spent his time with. The sick, sinners, tax collectors. He ate in fellowship with people that no one wanted to have anything to do with. The lowest part of the earth. Perhaps all he wanted to do was let us realize that he was willing to step into whatever we were stuck with. Reach us there. Regardless, he descended from heaven to earth. That is an amazing thing. We don't like to give up the comfort we have. Can you imagine stepping from heaven to earth? He's willing to do that for us. Join us here. Live our life. And even die our death. And Paul says he ascended. He ascended back, returned from the dead, returned to heaven, and restored life and hope, so that we would know everything was accomplished. Paul wants us to be absolutely certain that we know where our hope is, and that our hope is assured. There's no other. There's only this one. God has provided the hope, and he has provided it for his church. And so he calls it. And we get tasked. The task is ours, to be the church, to walk in a manner, to live in a manner according to what he has called us to. It's not so. My call called, you're called. We're called to be that echo in the world and to be in it together, which means you've got to put up with me and I've got to put up with you. You've got to be long suffering, willing to spend time and work together, be humble about ourselves and charitable towards one another, yet in Christ at all times. Be his people and know for sure the one hope that we all do have. That is that Christ accomplished all. His gospel message is clear, simple. Everything has been done. We are the redeemed people of God. We are the people that he has chosen and called. So we need to look like it and act like it. Let others see the hope that we have so that they too can come to know the salvation that's available in Jesus Christ. Okay? The next hymn that we have is number 420. Breathe on me, breath of God. We'll sing verses 1, 2, and 3. You will rise with me in body or spirit and join with me in the words of the Apostles' Creed that are either on the screen or in your hymnals in front of you. Let us confess our faith before God and one another. The words of this old creed. I believe in God the Father, Creator of heaven. I believe in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered, was crucified. He descended into the dead. On the third day, he rose again. He ascended into heaven. He is seated at the right hand of God. And he will come again. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the innocent, forgiveness of sin, the resurrection of the body. Please do be seated. And as we share in our tithes and our offerings this morning, do think about that call that God places on each one of us to be part of His church. If you filled out a connection card and you've got it done, feel free to throw that in the offering plate. Otherwise, we'll collect those at the end of the service. again in body or spirits and join together in our doxology as we present our tithes and our offerings. God, receive these offerings before you and ourselves into your church. Lord, we ask that you help us be useful, to carry your gospel message to those who haven't heard it, and to those who haven't yet believed it and trusted you for their provision of salvation. Lord, we ask that we'd always keep our testimony pure and clean. And Lord, through your Spirit, we ask that we would be in the right places at the right time. We would hear your call. Lord, all honor and glory to you and to your Son, Jesus Christ, who gave his life so that we could be the church. Let your both your names. Please do be seated. And to let you know what's on your hearts and minds, any joys or concerns this morning. Yes, Michelle. Yep, it should be up off the ground. So Kayla and Ragman are heading back from London this morning, so first for them as they travel. Yeah, exactly. Weirdness. Yeah. So any bag delays or any other things that go on at airports or train stations or anything else that they need to have addressed so that they can travel home after this long stint there in London. Other joys or concerns?
Oh, that's
Okay. So first for Rhonda and the whole family as they mourn Evelyn's passing.
also like that Hawaii.
Yeah, Maui especially. Yeah, so first for all the folks with the wildfires there, that they will be able to get the resources that they need. And first for everybody that I know that still are looking for people and cleaning up after the fires came racing through. So just first for all the rescue workers and everybody else that's working through that. It's not going to be a wonderful scene. It's a very difficult time for them. So first for all the folks on Maui, first for the folks that were vacationing there, that they can get out of the way so that the resources can be used to serve the locals. I know some of them have already said that. It's nice to hear them say that they're going to try to vacation short just to help out the locals with the shortage that they're going to have with the fires. And just first for all the folks as they get ready to hopefully try to rebuild things. Other joys are concerns. Sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, we kind of joke about it because we like going to Hawaii. And the folks on Hawaii always say, if you like Hawaii, send your friends to Maui. But they are family. And so, yeah, we do feel badly for everything that's going on. So first with that community just remembers how to come together and take good care of each other. And it was, islands, it's a little bit of a challenge because you are somewhat isolated when you're on an island. Other joys are good. Yeah. Oh, they're coming here. All right. So first for Nick and Nicole as they travel on over, and kids as well. And first they have safe travels, and then a good time visiting family. Wonderful. Other joys or concerns? Charlie? Now, what about the other great grandbaby? All right, so first of Thanksgiving that you got a chance to spend time with the great grandbaby, and first of Thanksgiving that you had good doctor appointments as well. And safe travel as well. Because they got rocking up in Green Bay for a little while too. Other joys or concerns?
First, you get support our Ron and Mason.
Nice showing yesterday. And like I said, it was wonderful having good weather so we could all sit and enjoy time together. So first of Thanksgiving, that went as well as it did. There's also good kids ranch. So hopefully these funds that we're going to send them will help them continue to do ministry work with the kids here in the area. Other joys or concerns? Glad to have you back, Wendy. Heard that the first of Thanksgiving that Wendy and Lily had a good time as they traveled about. You didn't have any travel challenges either, so first of Thanksgiving for all of that. Yeah.
I see something on the screen about, well,
Oh, yeah. With all that spare time, right? So, yeah, first for the Habitat folks too, they do have a build going on here in Lake Delton. So just first for them as they get that organized. I think they were trying to build a three-story house, I think is what it is this time, right? Which is a little strange for them, but they're on a small lot and they needed the bedrooms, so yeah, so just first for them as they do that. Other joys or concerns? All right, so first for the leadership here in this country, we continue to have our challenges and frustrations, and we're moving into another election cycle as well. So just first that we can do better together. We definitely proved on not to do things. So just first for us as we move forward, first that we can be unified. Just as the church works well unified, countries work well unified too. So just first that we remember that we're all in this together. Other joys or concerns? Yeah. So first for the schools as they get ready for the year, first that they can find the teachers that they need and that the teachers will be there for the students. Hard to be a student if you don't have a good teacher. So first that we can find the right people and get them in those positions. Other joys or concerns? Let's be in an attitude of prayer then as we lift these before the throne this morning. Lord God, as always, we are just so thankful that you draw us together as your people and constantly remind us that we are your church, Lord, that you love us and that you will pour into us because you need us to be useful. You want us to be useful. Lord, I thank you that even though you can do all of this without any of us, Lord, that you instead choose to use us to build your church, to carry your message, to encourage others to faith in you. So we just ask that you help us be diligent and effective in carrying that message to the folks that are in our communities, in our neighborhood, and in our families and circles of friends. So we just ask, Lord, that you always remind us of wonderful news that we do have to share. So we just ask that you keep us unified in that. As Michelle said too, we ask that that would spill over into the communities around us. We would raise up and encourage leaders to draw us all close together to remind us that we are in this together locally, nationally, and at all different levels so that we can work together. We especially ask that you be with the folks in Hawaii, on the island of Maui, as they struggle with all the fires and everything that happened there. We just ask that you be with those that are involved in the cleanup, that you would just strengthen and encourage them despite the scenes that they're going through. And also, Lord, we just ask that you provide for the resources that the folks need to get shelter and food and all the supplies to make it through the days. Lord, we also look forward to them being able to rebuild here in the coming weeks, months, years even, as they put things back together in their life. So we
just ask, Lord, that they would remember that wonderful Hawaiian tradition of ohana we get to experience when we are there. Lord, that they are a family together. And Lord, we also ask that we'd all remember this. Important lesson learned. So we ask that you be with Rhonda and her whole family as they mourn everyone's passing. We just ask that you use all of us to encourage Jerry and Rhonda to return, and Lord, that we can be there for them, let them in this season of sadness. We also ask, Lord, that you be with Ray Van's family as now they've wrapped up and they're going their separate ways. I know his mom has a lot of decisions to make, so we just ask that you be with her, especially we ask that you provide for travels for Kaylin Ragavan this morning. We thank you for providing for travels for others in the congregation as they've been able to get out and about, Darlene and Wendy and Lily here. We just thank you so much for providing for them. We also thank you for the good news or the good doctor appointments that Darlene had. So we just ask, Lord, that went to you. And we also thank you that she was able to hold that great grandbaby. So we just look forward to those opportunities continuing to present themselves. We also ask that you be with Nicole and Nick as they travel on over to Wisconsin here to spend time with the family. And Lord, we just ask that that would go smoothly as well. Lord, I'd ask that you be with the folks in schools. As we said here, they're short on teachers, and Lord, we know that we need to raise our youth to be our hope for our future. So we just ask that those teaching resources would make themselves available, that we'd be able to get the right people in those positions, and Lord, that schools would be able to train up a generation of young people that would know how to handle themselves well. So we just look forward to you helping us make that happen as well. We also ask, Lord, that you'd be with these mission work things that are going on in the community around us. We ask that you'd be with us as we try to provide some meals and fellowship here this coming Thursday to the community. We ask that that just be a wonderful outreach for all, that we would provide some encouragement, and Lord, also that we would provide an opportunity to draw closer to you in fellowship as well. We also ask that you be with this Habitat build that's going on. We ask that that will be a blessing for the family that's going to receive that, and also, Lord, for the folks that are going to work on providing that resource here in the community. Lord, I'm sure we have a few joys and concerns in our hearts and minds. Those before you. Lord, we ask that you be with this congregation as we meet this morning to figure out a path forward as we try to get our ministry in line with where you're leading us right now. And we just ask that our hearts and minds would be open and clear as we sort through the opportunities that we do get. So look forward to you blessing us in that. We also thank you for the rod sale that we were able to have yesterday. And we just look forward to you continuing to use this church here to bless the Wells community and to guide and bless each one of us as well, as we become closer in our walk. And now, Lord, we lift all these prayers before your throne, praying in the pattern of Jesus Christ, his disciples. Father, art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Honor yes, stay in our kingdom. Forgive us our trespasses, and as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Christ kingdom, and power, and glory. If you will turn with me in the little books or up on the screen behind me, our final hymn for this morning is number 2172, We Are Called. A word of warning to melody. This thing is going to clip along pretty good, so be prepared to clip along with it. With that, please do let us rise and bow your spirit as we sing our final hymn this morning and conclude our worship together.
It's all about with us walking humbly with God, serving one another. We are building His kingdom here on this earth. So go out into the world in good cheer. Remember that you are loved dearly by God. He has given you all the gifts that He needs you to have. Build His kingdom here on earth. We're dismissed. Please greet one another. A wonderful Sunday morning. Plenty of food in the narthex. We have our added council here.